Hello my friends, thanks for stopping by for another adventure. My name is Ian with Out of This World Reader. I hope you're all having a splendid day, but today's little video is going to be a series review for two, not one, but two series that I really fell in love with through the three books. It's actually a trilogy, and I love them so much that I felt the need that I had to do a series review of both of them, because I believe one of them is a hidden gem I haven't heard anything about, and one of the others isn't talked about as much as I think it should be. So without further ado, let's hop in with the first of the trilogies, which is The Crown of Feathers. So like I mentioned, the first one is Crown of Feathers by Nikki Paul Preda, and this one is basically following Veronica, and it actually follows a couple other perspectives as well. Through the story, you have Tristan and Sev. Tristan is a Phoenix Rider, and then Sev is kind of like a Empire soldier who becomes a spy for the Phoenix Riders. But Veronica, I would say, is probably the main perspective through the three books. Her and her sister Val are kind of going about the Empire and Pyra, just kind of looking for Phoenix eggs so they can become Phoenix Riders. And then Veronica kind of hears a rumor about some Phoenix Riders gathering in Pyra and basically kind of living out life and kind of hiding out. And she makes it her goal to get into the ranks of the Phoenix Riders and become a Phoenix Rider, because that is her like all-time dream. And together with Val, even though Val isn't too keen on getting to the Phoenix Riders, Veronica makes it in with the Phoenix Riders, but she has to do it pretending to be a boy because they do not allow girls into the Phoenix Riders. So that is basically the setup after she gets into the Phoenix Riders. Some other things are going down, and through all the different perspectives, you kind of get a different viewpoint on the things going on in the background. And I really loved kind of the initial setup for it. It had like the Mulan trope where Veronica is having to pretend to be a boy to kind of earn her position and work her way up through the ranks in the Phoenix Riders to join just the whole kind of clan that they are. And just, I really just like that trope in any of my books. So that was the first thing that drew me to the book. And then the fact that it's kind of centered around phoenixes and the Phoenix Riders. Like, I love phoenixes and then I love dragons, and then when you add kind of Phoenix Riders and Dragon Riders onto that, like, that is the best. Another book that covers dragons similar to this is Fireborn. That one is outstanding as well. But this one you have phoenixes, and I don't think that is really covered very much in a lot of fantasy books. Like, you have dragons a lot, but can you name another book with a phoenix in it besides Harry Potter that you can ride? But I also enjoyed how Veronica kind of showed up, and once she kind of understood what was kind of going on with the Phoenix Riders, she really wanted to make changes so that it was kind of more inclusive to everyone and just kind of earn their position back in Pyra with the people as well as with the kind of Empire. So I just enjoyed how she really got there, and she was like, things need to change. And through her kind of journey with Tristan, one of the other Phoenix Riders, together they kind of make changes slowly through the series in general. But I would say like the second book really kind of slowed down a little bit. Like, it was more of kind of like a build-up and a setup for the final book. And the third book I thought was just really fast-paced and non-stop from the beginning. And I think it's hard to choose. I think, yeah, that one is probably my favorite because it was just constant like dread in not knowing whether your favorite characters were going to make it out, because they were constantly struggling to kind of survive. They were fighting for their lives and everything that was going on. It just made it so complex, not so much like complex, but just like more enjoyable for me as like loving kind of fast-paced fantasies. So I really enjoyed that about the third one. And just all of them are in general are really great plot-wise. It's just that second one, it's a bit slower than the first one and the second one. The characters, you really grow and connect with them through the books. Like I mentioned, there's three main perspectives: Sev, Tristan, and then Veronica. Sev being the spy, and then Veronica and Tristan being the Phoenix Riders. But also through the other two books, you're also introduced to other perspectives who kind of play roles in the background, but I was really disappointed with how much they were included, because one of my favorite characters in the series is General Sparrow. She only had like a couple chapters in the third book, and that was really disappointed me, because I was looking forward to more of just her perspective and her viewpoint as her kind of being blind, and her abilities as an animage kind of being stronger than some people. And I was hoping for more from her, but you really just connect with all of the perspectives through just a series, a trilogy, and seeing their growth through just the things that happen to them and the decisions that they have to make. You just you connect with them in 3 books, and it was hard to say goodbye to some of them in the final book. At some points, the characters, the kind of romances and stuff going on was a bit cringy, but other than that, I thought that their growth and everything else going on with them was really great, and I can't complain much about that. And then I'll get to probably one of my favorite things about this whole trilogy is the world and the magic. The magic is basically centered around kind of animage, which they can basically communicate and have these bonds with animals, whether it's kind of the phoenixes or the cats and dogs and other animals, and basically they can communicate with the animals through their mind. And it's really the bonds that they form with the phoenixes, they're able to kind of just feel their pain and feel their emotions and just really connect with them. In some other books that I've read, with the dragon riders and stuff like that, you're not really connected as much as you are with the phoenixes in this book. That's what I really enjoyed, was kind of getting just the viewpoint of the phoenixes, because they also can speak through the minds, and you kind of get their thoughts on things going around, and their emotions sparking and kind of going on and kind of influencing decisions. So I really enjoyed that. And then there's also kind of this shadow mage ability, which you can kind of control people's minds and stuff like that. And there's only a few in kind of Pyra and the Empire, the world in general. But those are kind of the only magic aspects, besides kind of the bonds with the phoenixes. And just the world in general was fascinating. Through each book you get to journey to other parts of Pyra, as well as into the Empire and the capital, and just exploring just the world that had these giant forests and everything else. It had it all: caves, towns, little cities, keeps for the phoenixes, and just it was I loved just how each book kind of added on. You got a little bit in the first book, and then in the second book it continued on adding more, and then in the third book I didn't think it could, but it added more in. So I just enjoyed exploring more about the world in general. But overall, I just really enjoyed the trilogy, and I can't wait to see what Nikki Paul Prada comes out with in the future. Her third book, the third one in the trilogy, just came out either last month or the month before. So I have no idea what her plans are for the future. If you have any idea, please let me know. But overall, I think the first book got 4.5 stars, and then the second one got 4 stars, and then the third one I had to give 5 stars, because I just liked how the ending kind of wrapped up and everything was kind of concluded kind of perfectly. Not so much perfect, but I thought that it was well done. Now let's move into the one that I think is never talked about. I haven't seen it anywhere, and this trilogy is the Beyonders trilogy by Brandon Mull. Everyone kind of talks about his Fablehaven series, but I never see this one anywhere, and this is actually my first Book of Mysteries pick. I'm glad that it kind of provided me with this pick, because just everything about this I loved, as you will soon hear. The setup for this is really interesting. Basically, it is a portal fantasy where Jason kind of finds his way to this mysterious Illyrian through I won't go into spoilers of how he gets there, because it's pretty funny, but he basically goes to Illyria, and from there he kind of meets Galorian, who is basically kind of this blind prince, and he kind of sets him off on this quest to find these different syllables scattered across the world of Illyrian, and that once combined can defeat the evil wizard Maldor, who kind of rules over all of Illyrian. He's evil, and everyone kind of hates him. And once you kind of say this word, this mysterious word in front of him, he will supposedly explode, and he's gone. And so Jason and another perspective, Rachel, they basically set out to find these different syllables and combine them and then take down Maldor. And from there, without going into spoilers, some other things go down and they end up in Lyrien a little bit longer than they thought they were going to be. But I just liked how it took like a different setup than what I'm used to, where like the wizard was evil. Like in all the books I've read, the wizard is never evil. I don't know what it is. I know there's tons of books out there that are like that, but with this one, I wasn't experienced with that. Like I mentioned, after the first book, it really kind of shifts gears into just a different kind of pathway that they were kind of initially set on when they first arrived in Lyrien, and things kind of change for them as well. They have to kind of make new decisions and they meet new friends along the way. Along the journey, you have kind of fights, a lot of character growth, learning new things about just Lyrien and the characters around. And it is pretty gruesome for a middle grade, in my opinion. Like, we had people getting decapitated, choked out, heads chopped off, body parts being chopped, everything about it. I thought it was pretty gruesome for a middle grade, so maybe like an older middle grade, but I don't know. And it has also got like a bunch of humor and banter between the characters that is just perfect for a middle grade. It reminded me a little bit of Rick Riordan. The first book lacked a little bit, in my opinion, in kind of the banter and humor, but then it really picked up in the second and third books as you were kind of introduced to more characters and just more of the world in general. And as the kind of stakes rose, they were all constantly cracking jokes at each other, kind of making fun and trying to make just like the stress of the mission kind of take off a little bit, like take it off their shoulders a little bit. Similar to Crown of Feathers, you really connect with the characters through the 3 books, especially Jason and Rachel. Those are the 2 main perspectives that you follow. In the kind of following books, you also get kind of short chapters from other kind of characters and perspectives that from past past scenarios, essentially, where they had to kind of make decisions that kind of put them in the place that they are today. But you mostly follow Jason and Rachel. In the first book, it is only Jason, and I was really sad by that because I was really hoping that Rachel would play a bigger role and you would kind of get her perspective. And then after the shifting gears, you kind of had to follow Rachel's perspective as things kind of changed without going into spoilers. But you just see their character growth as they learn new things and kind of hear inspirational speeches from several of the characters. And I thought, this is gonna break my heart, but I thought since it was a middle grade, it would go easy on kind of who was gonna survive and who wasn't. But Brandon Mull did not. And that third book, he was just like, it was heartbreaking. I did a whole vlog on this where I was just bawling my eyes out once I finished it in the epilogue. Like, it was just completely heartbreaking. Like, several of my favorite characters, they didn't make it out, and it was hard to read. I think I enjoyed kind of the world and magic in this one more than kind of the Crown of Feathers. Like, just the world of Lyrien was so mesmerizing. Like, it's kind of like a classic fantasy where you have kind of trolls, giants, but also Brandon Mull kind of introduced new monsters and new creatures that just were so like unique to his kind of writing and this world of Lyrien, and just journeying through Lyrien as well. Like, through each book, you just explore more about it. And like, we had like giant libraries and swamps. Like, there was a whole part on kind of like a lake, and it was just like an ocean actually. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like really special. It will always kind of hold a special place in my heart. The magic was really unique as well. It kind of uses words. I think it was eptonymic or something like that. And Rachel actually has the ability to kind of harness this ability, but only a certain few are kind of well-known, or not so much well-known, are able to kind of use this. And then those are kind of being like the wizards, like Maldor, and then Rachel, and then a couple few others. And just like the magic, the way it was kind of encompassed and used, I thought it was really cool. It's basically like the Force, but with using your mind and words. It's just so cool. And just the world, like, I can't, without going into spoilers, like, I can't go much in depth with it, but it was just vibrant and unique. With each book, it continued to add on. And it was hard to say goodbye, like I said. Like, in the epilogue, when everything was kind of ending, I knew that it was going to be hard to say goodbye, and it was hard. That's all I'm going to say. But overall, it's just a great middle grade, and I definitely recommend you check it out. They were fast reads for me. The first one I think was 4.5 stars. The second one was 5 stars. And I was thinking, I was worried about it would have kind of like that middle book syndrome, and I thought it would kind of be just a bit slower because it is basically the way that it kind of shifted gears. And I thought it was going to be just all preparing for the third book, similar to Crown of Feathers, but it didn't. It didn't let up at all. So it got 5 stars. And then the final one got 5 stars as well. So I just love the whole trilogy in general. If you haven't checked it out, give it a try. But those were kind of my thoughts on 2 of these new series that I will just forever have a place on this bookshelf, forever, and in my heart. And I just really recommend you check these out and give them a try. They're both really quick reads. But that is going to be all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I hope you all have a splendid day, but I'm going to leave you with a message from Ellie, who said that adventure is out there. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.